Tommy, do you want to clear?
There are some jobs where the unexpected becomes the expectation.
You could come in, it could be a nice quiet day, or you can come in and be running from call to call to call.
Sergeant Jeremiah Gates loves that part of the job. Every day, a new adventure on the streets of Arapahoe County.
Right. Never have any idea what to expect, especially if you're on patrol.
But Sergeant Gates isn't your typical cop, because tucked inside a backpack in his squad car is a small tool that's serving a big purpose.
All right, so right now I'm trying to work on entry into the building.
With a keen eye and careful hands, Gates guides his drone through the front doors and into a building.
And then once I get inside, I start looking around to see what's in here. What do I need to find? So I can see inside right now, inside the building, that I've got multiple closed doors.
While this operation is just a test, in real life, Gates is now doing this a handful of times each year, instead of putting deputies or a canine in harm's way.
Before we send them in and put them in danger, I can fly a drone inside the building and then get eyes inside, look for the suspect, potentially find the suspect, and then that way we can direct the SWAT team right to where they're at.
Learning to fly like this doesn't happen overnight.
Have you crashed it today? Okay.
Each pilot goes through regular training.
Are we going around the building?
Including how to navigate tight spaces.
There you go.
14 deputies are now certified to fly. Last year, they used a drone on more than 70 calls. Some of those were indoors. But it's outside that Gates says the drones serve their biggest purpose: thermal imaging and high-powered cameras, allowing them to search for suspects and missing people, or even track a car from miles away.
So what I did is, sitting right here, I zoomed all the way in at the intersection of Hampton and Gun Club, and it's got 128 zoom. They'd have no idea that we were there doing that.
And that's where some see concerns.
There is no reason that law enforcement should have access to consistent footage and recording of our everyday lives.
Anaya Robinson and the ACLU of Colorado say they're concerned about the privacy implications of police drone use.
I mean, we have a right to some semblance of privacy in this country as individuals, right? And the use of drones when it's unregulated, when we don't know that it's being used, when we don't know why it's being used, can really cross that line.
Sergeant Gates says he understands the concerns.
I actually hear about that a lot. People ask if I'm using these drones to search in their backyard. I'm not. I'm not looking at what you're doing in your yard. I'm not looking at what you've got in there.
He says if they were to search a yard, they would need a warrant, the same way they would on the ground. So far, he says the drones haven't been used in this capacity. Instead, Gates says the focus is on public safety, a viewpoint he hopes people trust and understand.
It's the wave of the future. This is where it's going to go at some point.
Sergeant Gates believes they've only scratched the surface on what's possible with this technology. In fact, they're now trying out something that's never been done before in Colorado. This is not an angle you see on a typical traffic stop. A bird's eye view of an Arapahoe County Sheriff's deputy asking for a license and registration. The person inside unaware that half a mile away, a team of investigators is watching.
So you can see a passenger in his hands from our vantage point. That's awesome.
Sergeant Cade Cunningham can't help but smile.
That's really impressive.
As his team of tech-savvy deputies tests out a new idea: responding to 911 calls through the air to get quick eyes on the scene below.
Yeah, it'll be at Quebec and Evans.
It's a program called Drone as First Responder, and this is the department's first time testing it.
What it is staging drones at strategic locations throughout a city or a jurisdiction to respond to and supplement calls for service before a deputy arrives. So it's not to replace traditional police services. It's very much getting to a call before anyone else does to scope it out and provide additional information and intelligence to responding deputies.
The idea is pretty simple. Deputies can get one of these to a crime scene or potentially unsafe traffic stop faster than a deputy can get there on the ground. From there, deputies can alert arriving officers to what the scene looks like or potentially track a suspect who's in the process of leaving.
Big gray and black Nike sweatshirt and carrying a gray purse.
Today's test involves two teams located a few miles apart. These deputies have to follow FAA rules, meaning they have to stay below 400 feet and can only travel a maximum of 3 miles away.
Today everything's by visual line of sight, so we have one person just monitoring the drone visually while the other one is flying it. As soon as they can't see it any longer, they have to position themselves or tell the operator, hey, can't see you anymore, you need to come back.
Across the nation, only a few departments are actually utilizing this technology, including police in Chula Vista, California, where records show the department responded to 4,600 calls with a drone last year, assisting in 666 arrests.
Drones provide invaluable information to officers, sharing with them a visual into what is actually occurring.
Police there even have a map set up where people can find out why a police drone was over their house. But with technology comes plenty of concerns from privacy advocates, including the ACLU.
Using drones to help in solving crimes is a reasonable use if we know that a crime exists, has occurred, and we know the general area of where. But if we're just allowing law enforcement to fly drones around to see if crime is happening, that's a constant invasion of the privacy of every single person within the scope of that drone.
Arapahoe County says no final decisions have been made about whether this is something they want to pursue. But after the test, Cunningham says he can see the benefit.
A life is more valuable than, a $2,000 drone. And if I knew that me taking off and going to that scene saved the life of an officer or a civilian or anyone for that matter, that pays dividends.
He says before any decisions are made, the department would first collect feedback and make sure it's something the public wants too.
This is not a turnkey anything. Before this would ever go into fruition, we would get as much input as possible from the public. And if it's not something they want, then that's not something that we're willing to explore, because that's who we serve at the end of the day.